What's up, everyone? This is Dariusz Kalbarczyk, co-founder of NG Poland, JS Poland, AngularMaster.dev, and WorkshopFest.dev. Welcome back to Angular Master Podcast. Today, together with Grzegorz Lipke, CTO at House of Angular, we will talk, among other things, about the importance of community and open source projects. So let's start the show! Hi Grzegorz, how are you today?
Hi, I'm great. What about you?
Yeah, everything is cool. So, the first question is, can you tell us about yourself, like who you are and what do you do?
As you already mentioned, I'm the CTO of House of Angular. This is the sub-brand of our mother company called Value Add. And we are really into our favorite framework. We are working with Angular for some time, few years already. I'm in the role of CTO and I keep everything from technical point of view intact, but also I'm a co-founder, which makes me responsible for the whole company, all the processes, how everything goes inside. That's it, I think.
That's perfect. Well said. So, what made you the path of a programmer?
I think there are a lot of people that don't know what they would like to do in their future when they go to school, when they go to university. They often pivot to change to programming or things like that. I think I knew from very beginning when I saw the first computer, Amiga, and then when I got my first PC where I could actually start to code, it was like 5th grade of the primary school, and I already knew that this is something for me. I started with the basics of C, and everything was possible without internet, 2 books and everything. But then I went to university for computer science and graduated, few of them actually. And right now I don't do any coding anymore because I think that our people inside the company are much better than I do. And that is also because I believe that hiring better than myself, it's a good path, but also at some point, I saw that I'm not great in some parts of the programming, which is, in my opinion, needed. For example, being really disciplined with doing clean code, with doing everything with the industry standard. I was this kind of developer that was able to code in new language, in a lot of complex problems in the same time, but actually doing a bigger project in one technology in the really strict matter was a challenge for me. So I saw that I'm pretty good in other things, discussing with clients, with business part. So I decided to run the company for myself and to create the place I always wanted to work with. I got some bad experiences, good experiences from the past, and I think the focus was on creating great environment, clear approach, and the place that I would like to go into and work inside that kind of company. So, do you think software rule the world? Yeah, from technocratic point of view, it's possible. But as far as I remember, I was trying to solve every problem with software. I think that more and more people every year trying to do similar stuff. I remember when I was in university, there was some kind of lecture about information at all, and one person said, okay, in future, the software in cars will be 50% price of the car, and it will be some complex that simple mechanic that cannot fix that car anymore. And that for me, that time I was open-minded. That was pretty abstract. Nowadays, we have cars, self-drive, autonomous, well-known brands doing that, and I think that's a path that whole society is going to.
Yeah. So to be clear, I really like the name House of Angular, and I really like the name Angular Love. So can you clarify what is House of Angular and what is Angular Love?
Okay. Yeah, House of Angular, it's what we call it in Poland, software house. I know in other countries it's called development house or development agency. We are aiming on creating great products, enterprise products in Angular. But Angular Love, it's a way of contributing to community, being part of that. And that was not our blog in the first place. We actually acquired it from Tomasz Nastały. All the best, Tomasz, if you hear that. He at some point was a bit exhausted of writing a lot of blog posts alone and wanted to seek for some help, and we offered that we could maybe lead that project and start to promote it more, spend more people, energy, money on that, and so on. And we did. And it's a great place because it's not only biggest Angular Polish blog, but it's also a community partner of NG Poland, NG Conf. We are a community partner of Nest.js. It's a great thing that we could use that medium to reach to developers with a lot of sophisticated content, because we are aiming to have rather high quality articles there. I think that's pretty much it.
Why Angular?
We started, I think, 6 years ago. There was an Angular JS time, the time that you actually wrote your book. And of course, that was not your book that we led us to Angular. Maybe that would be a different story right now. But we started with writing a proof of concept for a client. I mean, trying to find a solution for a challenge that was writing an application that need to be in the browser without page refresh for 1 month. It was like a prisoner-related thing and a life crucial thing. And we did a proof of concept of the framework, actually running that for 1 month. There was no memory leaks. I know that there is a lot of opinions regarding AngularJS, mostly not positive nowadays, but at that time that was pretty sophisticated thing. If you look back using jQuery, that was a game changer at that time. But we saw an opportunity to do what we always wanted, creating enterprise application that are not depend on framework that is written it on backend, because there was a time that there was a Google Web Toolkit, for example. There was a time that there was Vaadin generated in Java and things like that, and .NET had its own tools for that. But Angular came with a new, promise that you could actually do something more sophisticated. You can lead architecture there. You can design something more, single page application that is there connected with the API on the backend, and that weren't really great. But we always wanted to create something more than websites, because if you graduate and you see all the complex stuff that you're dealing with on your university, and then you end up doing websites in your company or simple apps, you always wanted to do something more. I mean, more sophisticated, solve more problems, and Angular was a way. I mean, I really see it as an enterprise solution.
When you realized that you are having Angular momentum?
Yeah, that's a great question, and a great name used in science as well. Yeah, I mean that I think came a few years ago. We had some great people on board that loved Angular, and they were really into it. And what we saw that time, okay, we can do projects, but you are working in the company, some kind of in your own bubble. But then we start to cooperate with other companies, because it's not always that you find a great project. Sometimes you need to deal with other companies' projects and so on. And each time that we were asked to join some other project, each time that we did some audits about the code and things like that, we saw that actually some companies are a few years behind us in that, and the quality that we presented were much more sophisticated. So we saw, okay, maybe that's a great moment to become one of the best team in Poland. And we started to invest in that. We started to gain more people, building knowledge bases, building Angular Love. Help to continue with that great blog. We started to go to conferences like NG Poland, like Angular Connect in London. And we saw, okay, on those conferences, all the subjects were great, but we already knew also a lot of things, because we were really into tracking whole community, whole newses on Twitter, on blogs and everything. So I think that time we saw, okay, that really makes sense to invest in that framework. Of course, it's Google behind, so maybe it will not be like GWT from Google before, that Gmail was based on that. And we see that with TypeScript, with really object-oriented thing, with architects on the front end, you are able to build really great products.
Why do you invest in the community?
Yeah, I think there are a few reasons behind. First of all, it's maybe simple that we are grateful what it's done in the community, because Angular is not only the core framework created by core team in Silicon Valley, but it's also work of the lot of people working on the libraries, on the documentation, on the tutorials and everything. And we wanted to be part of it. We wanted to share something, not only from sharing perspective, but also if you start to show people what you do, you can get a feedback as well. You can find really passionate people that they can work with you on creating other stuff. You could, of course, create a better ground for future junior developers to start with the framework that you believe, and that the better that our developers had when they started, because it was not always so easy to learn the framework. Of course, it doesn't, but it's much easier than was before, as it to every community-based environment. So yeah, I mean, we really are into.
How do you promote Angular Love?
Okay, that's another good question. I mean, yeah, it's not easy, because it's totally different than promoting a software company. Right now, we are focused on things like Twitter, Facebook. We have a great Facebook audience there. We have a group of bloggers that we discuss with them new articles and so on. But we also doing a simple things like advertising, doing contests of Facebook, creating some gadgets. But on the other hand, we are working closely with other communities, with conferences, promoting them, other courses and things like that. So that's why I'm really helpful. I mean, it's really helpful that we are working with NG Poland, that we are working with NGConf, that we are working with Nest.js on that. And we're still seeking for new communities, maybe to joint venture or some other experiences there. But then, I mean, it let us to go to developers without hidden agenda that you want to hire them and you're just selling them content for just being able to hire them. We are seeking for something more. I mean, actually providing that value. That's why we really spent a lot of time on those articles. And some of them are sponsored by House of Angular. People are doing them between projects and things like that.
So well said. So how you see your role in building community?
Yeah, the blog is one thing. Even that we are biggest in Poland, and the blog is well known by a lot of developers coming into interviews or meeting at the conferences and so on. But I think the role of each software house that is, or even each software company, should be to really work with community, because this is something worth, how to say, if you work with community, you let people to decide what they would like to have there. You let people participate in a whole, and that really motivates them. And because it's not only the tool that you are using at work, it's people behind. It's full of people and great passionate people. And you probably know even more than I, because you probably know a lot more passionate about Angular than I do. So and some of them are doing it for fame, but I don't believe that they are not doing that for other people. And that makes it a great thing in general.
I think most of them doing it for fun first.
Yeah. Programming is a fun thing. I wrote some codes a few days ago, and few code lines, and yeah, that's a great thing. I should do it more often, I think.
Yeah. So does it all matter for employees?
Maybe it's for us. It's a bit odd, but we seek for really ambitious people that look for evolving their skills, evolving their knowledge. And I think at some point, if you're learning new things, you come to the spot that, okay, I don't have a big gain with my skills anymore writing code. I don't have really more fun with that, and so on. And you seek for new challenges because you're an ambitious person. And one of that thing that you can seek for, it's helping others. I mean, teaching others. And community is great for that. For current employees, it's also can teach you a lot of things when you teach others. You can learn a lot by other people's mistakes. But it's really make you a better person, make you part of the community. You feel that your work matter, not only the project that you create, because it's of course important, but you also, if you invent something inside the project, and then from that point of view you see some kind of new approach, new idea, and you work on that after the project on extra time, and you share that with employees, and then you share that with community. It's a great output in general, and motivates everybody to be even better in what they do.
Does it help in recruiting?
For the people that we are looking for, I think it's pretty important that you are building a community behind your daily tasks. So you're doing something extra. You add some value here and there. yeah, we are not only supporting community by doing blog posts and articles, but we are also, sponsoring NG RX. We are sponsoring Nest.js and few other libraries. We are sponsor. Maybe that's I could use the word sponsor the open source libraries by contributing to them. Because if some of our people are doing that during their work time, some kind of time that they have spent on their own to promote Angular or learn something new, and I think people really fit into that. They like it. They would like to work in such company. But of course, that a certain group of people that we are looking for. Some people don't care if you care about community. They don't think that it's worth sponsor. They don't think that if contributing to open source it's worthless and so on. But fortunately, we have a lot of people that, as you said, that is fun for them to contribute, that is fun for them to be part of community, and we are looking for such people because I think that's a great output.
Exactly. Well said. So how the client react about your community involvement? Is supporting the community good for a business?
Yeah, I would say yes. It's really great. Some companies really appreciate them. Some companies don't care, but that builds you credibility, that you have people with passion, that you have people with skills, that somebody want actually to merge their code into the big libraries like NGRX, like, Angular itself. Besides that, we have some clients. I mean, this is the last example. We have a great company that we started cooperation with, and they actually put in the contract that we need to evangelize Angular and create great quality in Angular there. That's a really amazing thing for me, and I probably will share that thing with other people because that's not often happen. And I think also what was behind that, when they saw that we are actually supporting the community, when they saw what we done, and this is something you can check, because you can see our sponsorship, everything is transparent there. You can see articles on Angular Love, you can see contributions and things like that. It's, this is not something that the recruiter will or salesman will say, that the empty words, those are facts that you can check. And as I said, it builds credibility also for clients that we would like to have, like mentioned one from US, that I really care about Angular quality as we do.
Exactly. So the next question is about the survey you did. So what was the most interesting thing you discovered after the State of Angular Poland survey?
Yeah, thanks for remembering that. Yeah, that was some time ago. We saw that state of JS. It's pretty nice, and it gives you a lot of knowledge. And we wanted to create something similar, starting with Poland, and to actually see what's in people's head, what's in Angular developers' head. Thank you for participating in promoting that. I think that was one of the biggest survey did in Angular in Poland, or the biggest one, hard to say, but the outcome was pretty nice. Everything is public in the Angular Love blog. You can check there, but there are also some other findings that we have, but I think most important would be that, for example, developers, especially the one with the high experience, they really enjoy the places to work that give them space for their own evolvement, for their own developing their skills, developing some extra things in between projects, or because we also did that before, and that was a great finding for us, because we saw, okay, that's a thing that we are doing good. In a lot of cases, we, for example, if you have 40 working week, we even in contracts we have, okay, we provide you people for 36, because 4 hours or 8 hours there are to be spent on their own development. So we saw that is a great finding, and maybe that also lead the industry to, in other companies, to let people actually develop their skills, because that also means that they will support the community in that time, and that's also will benefit for us. But other things was that there are a lot of experienced developers in Poland. They are pretty happy with their job. Some of them started with AngularJS. Some of them, for example, tried already Nest.js, which is really great expanding framework. If you compare from the last years, it's growing a lot. So we saw that it's really common in Poland to try to use Nest.js. But we also saw the numbers. That's something you need to check yourself. But there are a few hundred of developers, or I think several hundred people in total attended to survey, and maybe a bit less finished because there were a lot of questions. But we would like to continue that in the next years, maybe on more global scale. And maybe to try to find out even more things that could help community to be better supported by companies, so they find a budget for that, as we do.
So what is the biggest challenge you have right now with supporting community?
Yeah, that is a challenging part, because of course you create a sophisticated content. The target group for that, it's not very big. But we would like to, as I said, also create a grant for young developers being able to start with Angular. And even if we see what blog posts are most read by people, it's still a RxJS thing. And that's the biggest barrier, I think, for now in Angular. That is a difference between other frameworks. I think that you need to jump over the RxJS fence to start with Angular for good. But we try to invent some new ways for supporting community in that, because first thing you will think of, it's create courses, because that's really good thing. But I think the other things like hybrid courses that you can meet with the tutor, that we can meet with the mentor. I think mentoring sessions, we are thinking of some, maybe internship program, but not like standard internship, but something that you are committing with some code, and then you get some mentoring about that in the community. And because otherwise it's pretty more one-way thing that you, the same, for example, with NG Poland. There are great people there on stage talking one way, because there's too much people on the other hand to handle. But actually, we would like to have some more interactions with community, because we share the knowledge, but we are not always sure if it fits their needs and so on. So even if you tell the best possible things, you still it's a one-way communication.
That's really important. I saw that there is also a Nest.js tab on the blog. So do you plan to have a full stack audience?
Yeah, that is a good finding. I mean, it's there for a couple of months. We started a few articles there, and actually our journey with Nest.js started from the very bottom of our company. Some of the guys here started to their interest in Nest.js because it's a great framework if you are using Angular on front end, and Nest.js is a backend Angular. I would this would be an elevator pitch in backend Angular because it's the same principle. This is the same philosophy behind, and if you have great standards like NX and you are using some kind of good architecture, you can actually have a great integration between them. Maybe not utopian reusing everything on the backend and front end, because that was always an utopia. I think maybe somebody will did that one day, but I guess that Nest.js it's a pretty great tool, and we have great people on board. I mean, we have one person that is contributing to framework. We lately did an interview with Kamil, creator of Nest.js, and it went really great. We will translate that to English very soon. But we can see that there is a more and more group of people in Poland, in the US, in whole Europe, interested in Nest.js, because we have clients from US working with our own humble Polish framework, and it's a great thing to promote, I think, as well, and support the community. But I think, in other hand, that Nest.js community, it's a bit different than Angular one.
Why is different? So what Angular community could learn from the Nest one?
Yeah, I mean, Nest, or even if you take at the topic, I mean, that was created by a single person with really not so much power behind him as a Google, Facebook, or whatever other big company supporting it. And he created that he wanted to have more sophisticated Node.js working like in the Angular way there on the backend. And everything started from community, because that was an open source from the very beginning. And without community, it couldn't happen at all, because there was not big company that will use that anyway inside. But there was a community already built it. I mean, that was built before it went really popular, was huge. And even right now, that is a great observation. You are going to Discord for Angular, and you are going for Discord server for Nest.js, and you will see that on Nest.js there are more people than in Angular. But if you compare the framework community size in general, that's a huge difference. So people in Nest.js, I think they feel more responsible for open source, that they feel more responsible for Nest.js, because without them it won't be Nest.js, because one person cannot market that and everything. But of course that they feel that because they like framework, because it's a great thing, and so on. I also think that in Angular there are a lot of people that are having fun, but there are also some group of interests, people leaving Google, starting their own companies. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but it's totally different. I think their promotion, their contribution, and it's based on some. Of course, there are a lot of rock stars there in Angular that they build their own communities. I think there's a lot of places that Angular community stands out. I mean, not only Discord, but there's a Twitter, there's Angular Nation, there are a lot of conferences. But I think that what they could learn from Nest, it's giving a bit more space for people and let them maybe decide a bit more what to do. It's still pretty easy to contribute to Nest.js framework, and contributing to Angular, of course, is possible, but it's pretty challenging, I would say.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So what do you think would be the future of Angular?
Okay, that is a good question. And not only because I like Angular, but also because I invested a lot of my personal time, energy, money into that technology, as well as my colleagues at work and whole community. But I think that Angular is not going anywhere. It's there. It has a strong position of enterprise framework. I don't see any other framework being able to be such enterprise in their roots right now. We're talking about biggest players. But of course, mentioning state of JS said, okay, Angular is maybe not growing so fast as other frameworks. But I think it's not because of that people don't like it, but I think it's because other frameworks are much easier to learn, and they are used in much more places. It's much easier to start a project in other framework. Just write a few lines of code and it's there. But in Angular, you need to, of course, now it's much easier than it was before with CLI and everything, but you need to create a project and everything. So from very origin, you need to learn React.js to do it right. So from very origin, it's the barrier of entrance into Angular, it's much higher. But it doesn't mean that it's going to be abandoned or something because of that. I think that it's place that you could find great people because they actually jumped over that fence and are there in Angular. And it doesn't mean that other frameworks having much more people coding it seems that they are leading or something, because if you see the enterprise solutions, it's of course you can do project in other framework, but keeping that enterprise, leading that enterprise way with the great stability, with the great maintenance in the future. Angular is like Java, for example, or .NET. It's sophisticated. It's made for bigger projects. But talking about Java Spring and .NET Core and things like that, and the other frameworks are like PHP, for example. It's much easier to start and do something. But if you are going to build something big with a great amount of people, tasks, and everything, and then you try to support that maintenance and everything in future, you won't use PHP. You will use .NET, you use Java. The same with on front end. You will use Angular for that.
Yeah, so what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, of course, we'll continue to support the community. We are still investing in the quality of Angular in general, promoting, trying to find new ways of reaching to the community. We are investing lots of time developing Nest.js skills and so on, trying to find the best possible combination that will produce the code in the best possible way. But we are still seeking for excellence in Angular, not being the best in Poland, but we are aiming to maybe not try to benchmark on every side, but we really believe that we still have a lot of things to develop. We are looking for projects that will let us do things on our own way to provide quality, and clients that will appreciate quality, not only doing it fast as possible, but also with a great approach for future and with motivation and passion behind. So I think that we'll continue to support quality of Angular. We will continue to aim for the Angular enterprise solutions, because this is really enterprise front end. For me, that is the same word, like enterprise front end. That means enterprise Angular or Angular itself. And we'll always look to what's there, how we could help the community. We are trying to create some new open source projects. We are trying to, approach existing open source libraries and so on, and try to help them maybe with more, organized manner. Because right now, if you have an open source project, you have contributors, and if you want to become one, you need to spend a lot of time hunting issues, small ones. You could, of course, create your own, but if you would like to contribute, you need to hunt those issues and try for them to be merged, and then somebody see you, and then you start to be some kind of partner for discussion. Even if that discussion is still on GitHub and everything, but you are a contributor, somebody will read your posts. And we are trying to approach companies with a bit more like a, package for hours that we can spend on that open source, and sponsoring open source with more contribution, but with a more sophisticated manner, I would say, because then we could discuss what we can actually do, maybe write new module, write new version, maybe do some big major change with a lot of people behind that we could manage, and they are doing that with our working time, for example, but we would like to be not spending a lot of energy and time chasing the issues that you can contribute, but actually talking about something bigger. And I know that there are some open source libraries there that are willing to cooperate with that, but we are still starting that process. That's we'll see how it ends up.
What is worth learning nowadays?
Of course, Angular, but
exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's why we are here. But in general, if you look for the whole spectrum, it's pretty more stable on the front end, as it was some time ago. That every new framework every week, of course, they are still there, but there are some major players there. And you could, of course, compare Angular to Vue, to React, or whatever. But I think that there's a whole spectrum of things to do in Angular to learn. There's still a lot of new things and new things to come, because, let's say, PWA was not there some time ago. State management apps are really evolving, and they start to compete. NGXS, NGRX, Akita, and when there's competition, there's always something good. I think it's worth learning. So, as I said, also Nest.js is there, worth to be want to be investigated at least to check because this is really great product with TypeScript and so on. And it could fulfill, if you are an experienced developer, it could fulfill you a bit because there are new challenges. There is a backend stuff to see there, and to see actually the Angular principles on backend. It's pretty nice, and it will still make you a better programmer, even if you think that you did everything on the front end. And I think that's a nice way. But talking about a bit more generic thing, there's always worth learning clean code, clean architecture. There's always important to understand the philosophy behind clean coding, Angular. That this is universal knowledge that will help you in every case, I guess. So on one hand, you have new libraries, you have Nest.js, which is a backend Angular, but also do not forget to learn principles, philosophy, clean code, and all that around. That creates a discipline, that creates a foundation for any programming language.
The last question: what would you like young programmers to remember from today's conversation?
Okay, that is a tough question. I spend a lot of time in general helping young programmers to develop their skills on my private time, company time. We tend to hire a lot of junior developers, and because if you are a small company, the senior one don't want to join your company because they're small, nobody care about it, and so on. So you hire junior developers and you try to do the best possible with them. Right now we are of course in different spots, but I spent a lot of times with junior and young developers. Talking about their career, talking about their skills and so on. Not only as a recruiter and a company owner, but as I said, privately helping them with their career. So from that point of view, I am a bit confident that I know a bit more about it. I can see some potential in young developers that some other people don't. So from that point of view, I would say that first of all, you can seek help in the community. Just don't forget to ask, and don't forget to look more. You could, even if you are not really experienced, you still can try to contribute to the community, helping others, trying to be part of some open sources, because you don't need to be part of well-known big open source. You can just create one with your friends and have a great fun and have a great thing to show in your portfolio. So that is something that you can show in the community and get feedback about it. Of course, I would like them to remember that there's a lot of good content on Angular Love about Angular and Nest.js. I can, tell them that they could look for the Angular Love fan page on Facebook and maybe subscribe to newsletter, but that everybody says. But of course, they should look for some contests to win tickets for NG Poland if they cannot afford that, or try to get there some other ways. But as far as I know, this year it's pretty affordable. But so I would like them to remember that this conference is for them. Again, being part of the community. So, yeah, the conclusion is the community is pretty important. Try to be interactive with the community. Try to be proactive there, and don't close for one failure, or don't quit after that. Just be there for other people and try to support as you can, and you will be supported as well.
Well said. Thank you so much. Grzegorz, thank you so much for today's great conversation. You provide us a lot of valuable information. So one more time, thank you so much. I hope to see you at NG Poland soon, or in JS Poland, or on some meetups. We can organize some meetup together.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. That is something that we are working on, and soon probably we'll use our great conference hall in our building to share the knowledge, but maybe also stream that online for other people. Hopefully we'll see each other on NG Poland. You can find me probably, or somebody from our company, wearing the Angular Love t-shirt or any other part of wearing. Who knows what we are discovered that time? Maybe hats or any other things. Thank you, Dariusz, for your invitation. Hopefully we are meet with you and your community behind on meetups, on NG Poland, or maybe next podcasts.
Exactly. Thank you so much, and see you around.
Thanks.